You are welcome. Thank you very much. Please, another round of applause for our very own Dr. Sede. May I now welcome the center leader, Professor F. Okonofor. Please, a round of applause for Professor Okonofor.
The Vice-Chancellor, Professor FFO Oruwense, ably represented by the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Academics, Professor Paus Iriogbe, the Registrar of the University, Professor Mrs. Oshodi, University Librarian, our very special guest lecturer, Professor O.A. Bamiro, very senior professors here present, the Dean of Medicine, Dean of Dentistry, the Dean of Life Sciences, Director of ICT, who I've seen very well, my great friend, Chief Owen Obaseki, and my friend, the Director of Academic Planning, Director of Gender Studies, former Dean of the Postgraduate School, ladies and gentlemen, my dear students, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of SERI, I very sincerely welcome guests to this first in the series of periodic public lectures that this center will be delivering. The purpose of these lectures is to create public awareness about SERI and its services in order to ensure that the general public and the university community benefits from the work of the center in the provision of reproductive health education and related social services. SERI is one of the 22 African Centers of Excellence projects established by the World Bank in universities in West and Central African regions in 2014 for the purpose of rejigging the universities to deliver effective and innovative postgraduate education that would improve the ranking of universities and also profile solutions to regional development challenges. 9 other centers exist in Nigeria, and then the remaining 12 centers are in Ghana, the Republic of Benin, Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Senegal, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, etc. So Nigeria has the highest number of 10, while the other smaller countries are sharing the other 12 aids. The mission of SERI, ladies and gentlemen, is to implement high-quality training and apply research for reproductive health professionals needed to build a new cohort of human resource for reducing this country's high rate of fertility, high rate of infertility, high rate of population growth, unsafe abortion, maternal mortality, and HIV/AIDS. Our vision is to be a leading university in West Central Africa region, providing innovative and transformational changes on matters related to population and development. And we want to be a hub so that people from other African countries can see us as a hub and they will come here for learning and training. Our strategic objectives are fourfold. 1, to train PhDs in the fields of reproductive health, public health, health economics, and nursing. 2, masters in reproductive health, public health, by that community health department, health economics, and the Department of Nursing. 3, to organize short courses in reproductive health policy topics in the region. And finally, but surely not the least, to develop a regional laboratory that would support HIV and other reproductive health-related problems. And to date, we have one of the best laboratories in this country that address those problems. We will talk about that later on. Ladies and gentlemen, since its establishment in 2014, SERI has recorded considerable achievements and milestones, some of which I will just highlight. There are so many. One is the construction of a secretariat at the University of Benin campus with fully equipped lecture halls and seminar rooms. Those of you who have not seen that building at the College of Medical Sciences, please, you are invited to do so today. If you go there and you are inside the building, you will think you are in Europe, not in Africa. It has a library with 20,000 books and various e-learning platforms, EPCO's, Hinari, Science Direct, Springer, Willy, etc. So they are there. We don't want them to get wasted. So please go and use them. With a standby generator, an internet hub. So when you are there, you get internet free of charge. That provides 24-hour electricity. We have what do you call it? This one that they call what do you call that? Solar inverter, so that if our laboratory is for 24 hours covered, so that even if there's no light elsewhere, you will find light at the SERI building. We have a fully functional research and clinical laboratory complete with modern equipment, including a genetic laboratory. The university has graciously provided us a house which we have rehabilitated and is now functioning as an international students hostel. You'll be surprised that each of those rooms are air-conditioned rooms for postgraduate students. And we have tiles, not the normal ones. And Dean of Postgraduate Skype, we have internet hub and for the comfort of the students. So if you work, please go and check. International Student Hostel is one of the best in this university. We also have a guest house, which is also fully functional. So far, the National University Commission has accredited 7 of our courses. And now we are also being validated for the accreditation of by the Agency for Public Health Education based in Belgium. And that agency, because normally we don't do international accreditation for our programs, but the World Bank insists that for us to be internationally worthy, so that any degree you get from SERI becomes internationally competitive, we must get international accreditation. So we are now, there's just one step left for us to get international accreditation from APHA. And of the 10 ACs in Nigeria, we are the one doing best in terms of getting international accreditation. So far, we have recruited 252 master students, 36 PhD students, and 569 students have participated in short courses across countries like Ghana, Republic of Benin, and Guinea in reproductive health courses. We have also recruited 35 regional students, and some of them are present here today, from 5 African countries: Gambia, Ghana, Cameroon, many of them are here, Guinea, and Malawi. And you know, before now, we didn't have a single regional student in this university. So clap for us. And in December 2017, 8 students from the Gambia graduated, and they are now an alumnus. Every day they call me and tell me what they are doing. Among the total number of 288 students, 177 are female, accounting for 61.5% female enrollment rate in the program. Among the 20 regional students, actually 35 regional students, 55% are females, again showing that females slightly exceed males in the program enrollment in SERI, even for regional students. 249 MS students and 16 PhD students attended internships. And what that means is that they went outside University of Benin. It is compulsory that when you are taking our program, either master's or PhD, you must go somewhere in the industry outside Benin to just go there and see what they are doing, so that at least you can plug yourself to industry, so that as soon as you qualify, you already know the terrain. Some of them have been to United States of America, Harvard University. Some of them have been to the UK, Leeds University, Queen's University, Belfast. Some of them are currently in Ghana, the Ghana Health Service. Some of them are in the University of Uganda. Some of them are in so many places across the country. And they are sponsored by SERI. So when you pay school fees, when you pay a paltry school fees, we end up giving you more money to go on sponsorship. And the way we locate you for the sponsorship is that if you came first or scored a GPA or very high GPA and the highest, you go to Harvard, you go to University of Louisville, you go to Canada. Some of them have been to Canada, Ottawa University. But if you score a lower CGPA, you go to West African countries or African countries. If you scare a lowest GPA, you stay in Nigeria, maybe Abuja. And if your GPA is very, very low, you stay in Benin City. So, thank you. So it's not to make it competitive. Everything we do in SERI is competitive. Because even our grant was competitive. There were about 200 grant applications that came from around West African countries, and ours was selected. So that for that reason, we have to build it on competence and effectiveness. We have also developed a business plan with the help of Professor Izedome. Prof, stand up for recognition. A renowned professor of business economics. And I know when we were developing that plan, I learned a lot. He taught me so many things, and I will never forget those things he taught me, sir. Thank you. And we are going to circulate that very soon. We have also received additional grants from the Ford Foundation to support what we are doing, and also from the African Research Excellence Fund by the Medical Research Council, which was led by Professor Mokwa. You see here? She led that grant, and I want to thank you for getting us that grant. So far, we have trained 87 administrative and academic staff in various aspects of research, teaching and programming, including pedagogy, systematic reviews, meta analysis, strategic communication research, research to policy transfer. These are areas we've trained them around the world. Management of academic departments, student supervision, mentorship, monitoring and evaluation, research methods, use of data. Some of our staff are currently still in Ghana undergoing a workshop on use of data. Some recently came back from Malawi. Data analysis, proposal writing, resource mobilization, gender ethics, equity, reproductive health and rights law, financial management, audit, procurement procedures, project management, and manuscript writing, etc., etc. The idea is to make sure that our staff are trained in many of these domains so that they become much more effective in the work they provide for the university. Also, we have sponsored 18 staff and 10 students of SERI to attend and present papers at local, regional, and international conferences. That's actually more regional, international than local. And we have paid for them to go to countries like South Africa, they've been to Kenya, they've been to the US, and so on and so forth. And many more are still going and going to go as soon as possible. And then so far, we are in the 4 years we've existed, World Bank expects us to do research and to publish papers in scientific journals, which are highly rated international journals. So far, we have published 165 scientific articles in SFI rated journals. Please clap for us. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to use this opportunity to call on everyone present here today that there's an opportunity. You don't miss it. If you are not with SERI, you are missing out, I can tell you. If you have not visited SERI, then there's a problem. Is that okay? Because as the project coordinator, Dr. Sede, he didn't tell you that he's a project coordinator. Told you earlier on. The idea is that through SERI, we can begin to do things differently. This university is an investment. If we manage university very well, we will not need grants from government in the next few years, I can tell you. Because universities like Harvard are not getting subventions, and they are doing excellently well. All of you here is a resource. If we manage you very well, you can bring a lot of resources to the university. That's the idea. So what we've decided to do is that we are requesting you to visit SERI today, and then find the ways you can collaborate with us. Some of the areas in which you can collaborate with us include the following. The lecture theaters. Please visit us. You can use them for any activity you want to do. We have video conferencing materials. So you can be here and somebody will teach you from England or US. We have teleconferencing materials, facilities. Our internet is the fastest. As a matter of fact, let me put it that, Professor Ekase, I hope you don't mind me saying this, that university, SERI is subscribing for internet
Oshodi, the University Librarian, Dr. Luke Abasi, our guest lecturer for today, highly revered Professor O.A. Bamiro, former Vice-Chancellor, on to this landmark event, which is an enviable milestone in the history of our university, especially as it relates to the provision of necessary infrastructure in our campuses. Today, as you all know, is the official launching of the Secretariat. I am delighted that this is coming at a time when UNIBEN is rated as one of the most sought-after universities in Nigeria. I'm sure this is the first of its kind in a Nigerian university. The University of Benin is gaining more attention globally as it has positioned itself to launch deeper in areas of research as well as improve teaching facilities. Thank you, sir, because I know you enlightened us on this, what is happening in Seri. It's a very great opportunity for all of us here to avail ourselves of that opportunity given to us by the World Bank, both staff and students. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this address will be incomplete if I fail to thank the World Bank for this bold initiative. I also want to appreciate the center leader, Professor F. Okonofa, and coordinators here in the University of Benin. Similarly, let me commend the efforts of the various teams that ensure the successful interactions that have provided the platform for the team to excel in this project. I thank you all for listening. God bless you all. Thank you.
Please, another round of applause for our Vice-Chancellor. It will interest you to know that our guest lecturer is also a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Which means SERI is all-encompassing. It is now my pleasure to welcome Dr. Ezeko, the representative of the Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, to take the citation of our guest lecturer.
I have the honor to read the citation I have the honor to read the citation on our guest lecturer for today's occasion, Professor Olufemi Adebisi Bamiro, Fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers, Fellow Academy of Science, and former Vice-Chancellor, University of Ibadan, Nigeria. Professor Olufemi Bamiro had his secondary school education at Molusi College, Ijebu-Igbo, where he passed out with a grade 1 in the West African School Certificate, ordinary level, in 1965. He proceeded to the Government College, Ibadan, for his higher school certificates and passed out in 1967 with a result adjudged to be the best in the country that year at the Cambridge Higher School Certificate Advanced Level. He thereafter proceeded as chair scholar to the Nottingham University, Nottingham, England, for his first degree, graduating in 1971 with a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering. He graduated with a first-class honors degree. Between 1972 and 1975, Professor Bamiro attended McGill University, Montreal, Canada, where he completed his doctorate PhD degree in the record time of 2 years and 5 months. After his first degree, having gained special exemption from master's degree. Professor Bamiro joined the services of the University of Ibadan in 1975 as Lecturer 1 in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. He was promoted Senior Lecturer in 1978, Associate Professor 1981, and the first Professor of Mechanical Engineering in University of Ibadan in 1983. He has served the University of Ibadan in various capacities, which include Sub-Dean General, Faculty of Technology, Head, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Dean, Faculty of Technology, Director, University of Ibadan Management Information System, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Administration, and finally, Vice-Chancellor of University of Ibadan. From 2005 to 2010. The latter was recognized by the visitation panel to the university as a period of significant transformation of the physical, teaching, research, and learning environment of the university. Professor Bamiro is a recipient of many scholarship, fellowship, and award, including the Best Practice Award by United Nations Human Settlements, UN Habitat, in respect of the organomineral fertilizer plant design and construction projects, and Distinguished Chair Scholar Award in 2013. Professor Adebisi Bamiro is a Fellow, Scholar Energy Society of Nigeria, 1991. Fellow, Nigerian Society of Engineers, 2004. Fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Science, 2007. And Fellow, the Nigerian Academy of Engineering, 2012. At the national level, he was the secretary of the 24-man panel that produced the energy policy for Nigeria in 1984. Member of the 6-man committee that prepared the blueprints for the implementation of the National Science and Technology Policy for Nigeria in 1987. UNESCO consultant for the reform of the National Science, Technology and Innovation System in Nigeria, 2005. He also coordinated the project on sustainable financing of higher education in Nigeria, sponsored by the Partnership for Higher Education in Africa. Professor Bamiro is currently the chairman of the Screening and Monitoring Committee of the National Research Fund under the Tertiary Education Trust Fund. He is Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the Governing Council, Tai Solari University of Education, Ijebu-Ode, and member of the Governing Council of 4 other universities, namely Redeemer's University, Ede, Bell's University of Science and Technology, Ota, Pan-Atlantic University, Aja, Lagos, and Kola Daisy University, Ibadan. Professor Bamiro has close to 85 publications in learned journals and referred proceedings on solid mechanics, energy, science and technology, policy and entrepreneurship. He is also author of several books in introductory technology, solid mechanics for engineer, and entrepreneurship. He is consultant to several companies in both the private and public sector of the nation's economy, as well as international agency. Professor Olufemi Adebisi Bamiro is happily married and blessed with children. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our guest lecturer for today, Professor Adebisi Olufemi Bamiro.
Can go to the first one. Well, thank you very much. Well, first and foremost, I mean, because time is fast spent. Well, it gives me great pleasure. I must really appreciate, this invitation for this lecture. I cannot, of course, with Professor Okonova inviting me for this, I just had to, no alternative at all. I must come. And of course, one must identify, as you will see in the lecture, the important thing going on in this university, particularly in respect of SERI. Well, Professor, maybe I should start with protocol. I'm not a good protocol man, but I must start with protocol. By saying the Vice-Chancellor, who is a professional colleague, who I can see that is really, that this university, you must be having an engineer as Vice-Chancellor. Because I counted the number of bulbs in this hall, there are about 65 of them. There are only 3 of them not working. With only 3 not working, there must be an engineer in place. I must commend you for that. Another thing, it is from simple things like this that people evaluate the quality of management of an institution. When I was Vice-Chancellor, MacArthur Foundation, they were considering us for for financial support. And the president came. But before he arrived, I told my colleagues, my other principal officers, that look, yes, we have prepared very well. But one thing we have not prepared yet is the toilet of the Vice-Chancellor. In there, we had a big bowl for water, which of course signifies that your water is not running. I said, nothing detracts from your management, quality than things like that. So before then, I made sure we had a borehole, then water running, the toilet, nice perfume, everything in there. And people were just wondering, what's this man talking about? Suffice it to say that he came. After discussing with us, then he told me, he said, oh, my VC, can I go to your restroom? Thank God that I even know that restroom means toilet. Because there was a case where somebody in and said, oh, can I go use your restroom? He said, no, all our rooms are occupied. So, he went in there. And of course, my colleagues were looking at me. Say, this man, within a minute or two, he was back. And he said, well, gentlemen, I think I'm okay. He didn't do anything in that toilet. He just went there to see. I learned that lesson from UNESCO. When they were training, we lecturers then, I was already, Vice-Chancellor. They said that whenever they are evaluating institutions, after you have done all your grammar and so on, they will be looking for simple things to just show how well do you care for management. So I went to Professor Okonova's toilet. At SERI, excellent. So Well, you are still trying to get it. Well, let me keep going. Now, again, when I have opportunity like this, it reminds me of Pope John Paul, the former Pope. When he arrived in Nigeria for the first time, as characteristics of him, he kissed the ground. And what did he say about Nigeria? He said, Nigeria, a place where the best is still to happen, and where the best is going to happen. As I look at you in this lecture, I mean, looking at the faces here, I felt like Pope John Paul, that no matter what, with these faces I'm seeing, everything is still doable. It's like what the journalist from Time magazine US, when he visited Nigeria, and he went around. He was in Lagos. He has never seen street trading. He saw people trading on the street, and of course he enjoyed himself pricing things and buying things. When he wrote the article, he said that Nigeria, that from what he saw, if by any act of omission or commission, that Nigeria should get its leadership equation right, Nigeria will move the whole world. Because the resources are there, whether it's natural or human resources. With the faces here, many nations do not have the opportunity, that we have in here. And that's why it's very good that we are having this type of activity going on. One is happy, for Uniben in terms of selling. Are you ready? Okay. So I started with my slide when you see in there, I said, well, I must commend, Professor Okonuva, thanking him. Then I said, I must commend the World Bank. And you will see the reason why. I said, I'm commending the World Bank at last. And of course, if I say commending World Bank at last, it means that once upon a time, I was not commending World Bank. I'm talking about once upon a time, the MC referred to me as a once upon a time Vice-Chancellor. In the UI lexicon, they will attack me that I'm claiming what does not belong to me. University of Ibadan, we've got now almost 12 Vice-Chancellors. I remember when a function like this, when I finished my Vice-Chancellorship, just 2 months after, and then they say, oh, meet Professor Bamiro, former Vice-Chancellor. Professor Yobanjo, former Vice-Chancellor. Professor Adeoye, former Vice-Chancellor. Fallacies, former Vice-Chancellor. And it just occurs, all former. Then they said, no, there will be need to categorize. Some are more former than the other. So in my own case, since I just left 2 months as Vice-Chancellor, they said, you are a immediate past Vice-Chancellor. Then Professor Fallacies and so on, who just left about 2 Vice-Chancellor away, they said, you are former Vice-Chancellor. Then the like of Tamuno, late Tamuno and others, they said those were the one-time Vice-Chancellor. So we came to the conclusion that for you to be referred to as one-time Vice-Chancellor, you must have been Vice-Chancellor about 25 years ago. So I've lost my immediate past Vice-Chancellor. I'm now a former Vice-Chancellor. Okay, we are here. Okay, next. Next, as I said, I've thanked the commendation of the World Bank. So, I said, okay. No, go back. Once upon a time, why did I say commendation at last? Once upon a time, the World Bank, I said in here, advised African ministers of education in Harare. I remember my Vice-Chancellor, the Professor Yobanjo, was there. And what was the message passed by the by World Bank to the Vice-Chancellor of African University? They said that university education was not cost effective, and that our nation state should concentrate on the basic education, primary, secondary, and then maybe polytechnic, because they will produce technicians to run the the factories. And unfortunately, as I noted there, many accepted with dire consequences. The funding problem we have been having in the university system started from that period, which was very unfortunate. The same World Bank went to Malaysia with the same message. But there was record to the effect. The Prime Minister of Malaysia told the World Bank officials, he said, you use the doors at my airport. Please use that same door to leave my country. Because with this, that higher education was a matter of life or death for Malaysia. That there was no way the nation would develop without higher education, with universities in the front. That was World Bank then. Then, next, later on in the report, Sub-Saharan Africa, from crisis to sustainable growth, World Bank says certain fundamental forces will shape the content of Africa's development in the years ahead. The world is on the threshold of new technological age, driven by rapid advances in information systems, biological sciences, biotechnology, materials, and an array of new products that will quickly make African products obsolete. Next. If Africa is not to be further marginalized, but rather benefit from this development, two initiatives are crucial. Africa must improve its scientific and technology training and aim at the highest standard for at least a minimum core of specialists. And two, forge new partnerships with qualified firms and research institutes. It was now the same for World Bank, now coming to recognize research as key to attaining our developmental initiative. Next. In a nutshell, the World Bank, the world today is knowledge intensive. Information, technology, new materials. Mere possession of capital, mere heritage of natural resources, like Nigeria with our oil, is no longer enough to guarantee development. Future development in the social, cultural environment will now be more and more technologically based. Next. It is interesting to note the policy reversal by the World Bank, which is now championing the case for higher education research capacity building. This is accentuated by the current funding by the refocused World Bank under Western and several, as mentioned by Professor Okonova, which the Center of Excellence program was launched in 2014 with funding envelope of $165 million. But please, it is not a gift. It's a loan. People make that mistake. They say, oh, World Bank, World Bank. No, it's World Bank loan. It's our money. We pay back with interest. That's for sure. So NUC is the coordinating agency. Next. Project development objective of World Bank. Increase quantity, quality, and development relevance. World Bank now talking of development of the national development and realizing that postgraduate education is key. And then increasing the number of enrolled students, ultimately graduate in postgraduate programs, masters, and PhD as key to driving our development. Then enhance the quality of postgraduate programs so that students acquire the necessary theoretical knowledge and apply skills. And then improve development impact so that the knowledge from research and skills acquired by graduates are directly impacting development challenges. Excellent. But again, it's externally driven. Next. Now, there are at present 10 funded AC Center, AC1, at least 1,000 PhD students, 5,000 MSc students. Under AC3, which is now just on, with budget allocation, the World Bank now is having $70 million for AC3. In there, they have just launched and called for proposal. I'm sure the university here must be aware of it. From Nigeria, just launched. Close to 15 new centers are to be launched. And I'm sure Benin also will compete. Next. The University of Benin, I said under this series, University of Benin must be commended for being the first batch of 10 beneficiaries of AC centers in Nigeria. This was after stiff competition. You must commend Professor Okonova and others who really got this. And why you should not take it for granted. I said a number of first and second generation universities in Nigeria competed, and it was Bakodaya. Don't ask me whether Ibadan got one. Don't ask me. Okay? Next. I'm happy to know that the first set of students have graduated from the program, where the university can boast of high quality and excellent teaching and research facilities. It's the direction to go. And that is leading to the inauguration we are witnessing today, as said by the director. Next. Now, I said for the lecture, what I was giving in the invitation was impact of tertiary education on national development. But I just felt, well, let's just change it to sustainable development goals and the Nigerian university system. It's still the same thing, just to provide focus, that we are focusing on SDGs. Next. So my structure is development initiatives. MDGs. We had MDGs before, now SDGs. The features of SDGs and university education, of relevance to the university, I've teased out in the sustainable development goals. What are the goals that will be the responsibility of university to help our nation state? Then university education and the challenge, then the Nigerian university system and the challenge of research, because research is key. Then I conclude. Next. Now, in the MDGs, the MDG 2000 to 2015, which of course Nigeria participated actively as the bedrock of our developmental efforts. What he sought out to do was a world with less poverty, hunger, and disease, greater survival prospects for mothers and their infants, and so on. Those were the things that drove the MDGs. Next. That time, Secretary General Kofi Annan made this statement. That was at the beginning of the implementation of MDGs, warning all the countries, the nation states of the world, that for you to be able to achieve most of these development goals, it will take time. You have to train teachers, nurses, engineers, to build the roads, schools, and hospitals, to grow the small and large businesses. And of course, he said they will need developmental assistance. But there's no doubt that those were the things driving, those goals. Next. Scientific and technical provision professionals are needed. When the Commission for Africa, under Blair, when they were worried that African countries were not making much progress in implementing MDGs, so they commissioned a study headed by Blair, who was former Prime Minister of England, to look into what really could be going on. What will African countries should be doing to be able to, because while other countries were making steady progress, you go to the website, as at that time, to see every country was supposed to be reporting back, because they had all the indicators, all those development indicators, and they had their targets. So each country was reporting back on how well they were moving towards achieving the target. You will go to a place like Malaysia, they will say, oh, this one was supposed to be 20%. Right now, we are about 10 years into the MDG. We have achieved maybe 12%. In another one, so you will see such quantification. Come to the Nigerian website. You take a particular indicator. You will hear we are making steady progress. What is steady progress? We are not measuring. It is important. It is always said, there's no way you can manage any system without measuring it. You must know where you are. So that is why in here, the policy should assigned next. So, and what they identified was shortage of requisite skills, loss of skills through trade. Many Nigerians were out of the country at that time. And then weak higher education sector. Our higher education sector was so weak, and weak scientific research capability. That was the one that they singled out. That the research capability was very weak. And without research capability, forget any developmental goals being achieved. And then poor collaboration among stakeholders. Next. And they made recommendation that the international community should be ready to fund 500 million per annum. And this money was supposed to be dedicated to higher education, because it was recognized as the key to achieving then of course SETI, science, engineering, technology, and innovation, to find the most importantly, which I have highlighted in here, African countries, including Nigeria, we must find their own solution to their own problems. One thing I must say about this country, which is not new, people have said it, there's hardly any area of human endeavor that in Nigeria, that you have not had some people sitting down and giving proposals and so on. Is it energy? as mentioned in my listing, as far back as 1984, we did energy policy. And some of the recommendations we made then, I remember my colleagues came from Ghana, Tanzania, and so on, and they more or less copy word for word. They made progress with their own. In here, nothing. Once upon a time, I was here in Benin when energy research was hot. Solar energy, renewable energy. Way back in the 80s, we were doing research in Ghana and so on. We had West Africa up to Senegal. But what happened? Somewhere down the line, as Shina Achebe said, things fell apart. And nothing more to report. So in other words, it is Nigeria has more than enough ideas to run this nation. But what do you say about implementation? Even when we did the Energy Commission of Nigeria, when we proposed it, and it was supposed to be something that will lead this country, by the time we finished, you need to see when we suggest, that time Professor Movon was the chairman of that committee. He suggested somebody, knowledgeable and to lead the Energy Commission. Suffice it to say that they brought somebody who knew nothing about energy to lead it. That is the problem of leadership that we are talking about. It's not that we don't have ideas. There are enough ideas to run this country. It's not rocket science. People have done it. So, but it's important that we all have, I said here, we must find our own solution to our own problems. Enough of all this external influences that will come. People will come to advise you, and yet they will be tapping into the brains of your own people when they are doing it, and then they will write beautiful report for our government. And then they will think that it's new. No, you are not saying anything new. The difference between, well, some people probably don't feel comfortable listening to somebody who's black. They probably feel that when they listen to somebody who is white, haha, the solution has come. Part of the tragedy of development. Next. Now, MDGs, the reality number of countries including was the poor performance. I don't have to say more. We can move. We perform poorly. Next. So, arrival of SDGs. We now have SDGs, which took over from MDGs. And what people are now saying, yes, we perform poorly with MDGs. How about the SDGs? Should we learn our lesson from the poor performance and now use that, to drive SDGs? And that's why, this my talk is to show you all the direction that we should be moving. Next. So, on the SDGs, their vision is to end extreme poverty in all forms in the context of sustainable development and to have in place building blocks for sustained prosperity for all. You can see that in here, in MDGs, they said to eliminate poverty. But in here, in SDGs, they said to eliminate extreme poverty. Not all poverties. Because situation has been so bad that they had to be realistic. And we also know that the poverty level is so high that you cannot say that you are now, people are realistically saying we cannot eliminate poverty. But let us eliminate extreme poverty. That is important that we do. And the SDGs represent another set of global initiatives. Next. So, next. Now, what are the elements of SDGs with direct relevance to the university system that we must now, as university, worry about? One, end hunger, achieve food security. That is number 2. Goal number 3, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all ages. Then 4, ensure inclusive education. 5, 6, availability and sustainable management of water. 7, ensure access to affordable, sustainable, modern energy. And then 8, promote sustained, inclusive, and sustained economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. Now, I go straight, quickly. What are the roles of the university in this? Next. In the case of goal number 2, they said that the world will need about 50% more food by 2030. To produce enough food sustainably is a global challenge. Irrigation and other investment in agriculture, rural development can help millions of small-scale holders, that is in the agri sector. I think in Nigeria, our agri is even regarded now as the cornerstone of our diversification from oil. But the question now is, We'll be getting policies from government. Yes, you are replacing rice, import substitution, and so on. There was a time, I think we saw our former president, Jonathan, eating what he called cassava bread, which was supposed to be a challenge to importation of wheat. But is anybody talking of cassava bread now? What happened? But it is obvious. Cassava bread cannot just come straight away and replace the wheat bread. How do you manage the change? There is no way you can have this thing without involving your research community. In there, it is a value chain. It is not every cassava species that you can use for bread. The species that you have identified, where are the farmers growing them? This is for the responsibility of university. And when you even have that type of cassava, how do you change the technology of bread making to accept cassava instead of wheat? Who are the people addressing this? So, you say the university have it to come in. Your R&D, you cannot do without that. If you are going to make, such significant, So, whatever we are saying about a Greek policy and so on, no. We have to approach it from value chain, involving universities, researchers, to be able to, handle the challenges. So, as our university, we have to deploy the education training research in there. Next. Ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all ages. I said there is no gainsaying the fact that our university have an important role to play in training and retaining manpower for the health sector. And that is what SERI is all about. Next, I say SERI. Under World Bank AC program, we can really appreciate the role of SERI, whose mission is to implement high-quality training and apply research for professionals needed to build a new cohort of human resources to tackle the population and reproductive health challenges in Africa, as already said. And we must commend SERI that they are already making progress in that direction. But that is the type of intervention that we are talking about. Research-driven, producing research manpower to be able to handle the problem. Next. I said Africa, I cannot but also mention ACGD, which is at African Center of Excellence for Genomics of Infectious Diseases at Redeemers University. It was also another center like SERI. But we are all witnesses to the role of that center during the Ebola breakout. During the monkeypox, during the Lassa. That's the type of thing we are talking about. You'll have been waiting for professionals to arrive from US, from UK, and so on, coming during the Ebola. But this university, through this type of intervention, had already developed the capacity to be able to handle that, and that was save the nation. Ebola will have been more disastrous for this country, but for the intervention of that center. That is the type of thing we are talking about. So I say under Professor, Happy, yeah, move on. According to Happy, like I said, they were able to develop a novel 10 minutes Ebola virus rapid diagnostic test. If they had not been supported, we Nigerians have had the capacity to challenge that. Okay, next. The same thing, Lassa fever. They were able to, compare, and then also monkeypox, as I said. What I'm saying, the message in there is that if you don't build the research capacity of your institution, there's no way you can face either existing problems or problems that break out, without, any warning. Next. So, and then also they have got MSc and PhD in molecular biology and genomics. In other words, training of manpower, not only for Nigeria, but from outside of Nigeria, and the same thing that SERI is doing, which must be commended. In other words, it's not just enough for you to do that research. No, you must base the research capacity of people who will be working in that area, and that is what SERI is doing, in there. Next. Ensure inclusive, that is another equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning. Education should encourage creative thinking. The quality of education in all countries depends on having sufficient number of motivated teachers. Skills learned in school must also help young people to get a job. I will be dwelling on this because another serious problem that we have now in the country is problem of graduate employability, or graduate not being employed. is a time bomb, as you will see shortly. Some are non-cognitive skills, teamwork, leadership, problem solving. I come to that. Now, ensure availability of sustainable management of water and sanitation. Surely, I said the education, training, and research capacity of our university come into play to achieve optimal water management among competing needs. Some people have even said that the Third World War will be fought on water, the question of water resources. Again, we have opportunity of such resources in there, but are we managing the resources well? Again, challenge for the university. Next. Ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy. I don't need to tell anybody in this audience that energy is a big problem for Nigeria. A situation whereby we are even talking of 7,000 megawatts generating capacity, when South Africa with less population is talking about almost close to 50, almost 5-6 times our own. Says it all, that we have serious problem, with energy. But what are we doing to solve the energy problem? All we are doing is just, again, okay, let us disaggregate, let us divert, let it not be only PHCN and so on. Is it solving the problem? Of course not. Of course not. So, energy will continue to be a big problem, not only for us, but even developing nations. They too, they are tackling it. Next. So energy supply to minimize a serious problem in Nigeria, and as I've said, we have a long way to go. But it's a problem that is solvable. Next. So, again, World Bank came to see how can they address this energy problem, power problem. And you have ACE3. The one where SERI came in was ACE1. ACE2 will be strengthening SERI and all others. ACE3 is another call of proposal to create new centers. African Center of Excellence. And one of them is African Center of Excellence in Power. So, and what do they want the center to do? Next. They noted that the center is to address this issue. Lack of research in innovative approaches on energy transformation. Renewable energy. The world is moving in the direction of renewable energy. There was a document that I read. Before, US kept that document top secret. And what was the title of that document? Which was the outcome of a research they were doing quietly. And what they called that report? It was Endgame, oil endgame. US took it as a deliberate policy that by 2025, US will not import a single liter of crude oil from any country. That the energy that will drive their cars, that will drive their factories, and so on, will come from renewable energy, solar. And what did they do? They challenged all their key university and research centers. If you see the, millions of dollars being poured into all those universities on research in renewable. Are they not getting results now? And of course, as typical, what they come up with, they will sell to us. I think now we are also having, at the University of Ibadan, I think we are negotiating now having a 10 megawatt solar PVC generating plant. And of course, every inch of it will come from outcome of that, research. So that's the type of thing we're talking about. So lack of research in smart grids, planning and design, low-cost technology for rural electrification. Why should we take World Bank to come and create, to now, direct our attention to the need for, this type of thing? I'm happy about it, but I'm also not happy about it. That this is not an initiative that could not have come from our system and pursued longest time, not now, longest time. Next. According to World Bank, the selected center will be regional universities that maintain active education and so on. Like I said, the competition is on, and I'm sure Uniben should know. Maybe I don't know which of the you are into it. Can you give me your something, because we too we are into it too. So maybe we collaborate then. Okay, maybe we collaborate, because UI too is interested. Okay, next. Goal number 8, promote sustained inclusive economy, full productive employment. And they noted, and this is very serious, that between 2015 and 2030, 470 million more people will enter the global labor force looking for jobs globally, mostly in Asia and sub-Saharan Africa. This is potentially a huge boom that could sustain growth that is already happening. Some call this a democratic dividend. If the youth, because Nigeria is a youthful country in terms of the age profile, but are we tapping into the advantages of the youth? And one of the advantages is that all the development, most of the development going on now, most of those developments are driven by technology. And technology that you are talking about, ICT and so on, ICT is youth. I learned that the hard way. My son, you know, who happened to be in mechanical, did mechanical engineering. Of course, I introduced him to computer, when we were, JSS 3, and then from there he caught on. Now, anytime I was behind my computer doing something, he would laugh. That is, this way you are still doing it. Let me show you. First of all, I have to hold his hand because he types too fast. I said, you this young man, I'm an old man. How can I follow this, your hand? At times when I cannot follow, I say, okay, come, dummy. Sit down. Put the steps one by one. Because this brain, the danger register is already filled up. So that I can, I'll be able to do it after you will have left. Take our mobile set. How many people above 60 can use the power in that set? I see some people buying this sophisticated one. You are wasting your money. The old people buying this. Because how many of those functions? It took time before I could use WhatsApp. Because, and the youth, the thing that are using all this thing is technology. It's driven by the youth. And we are not taking advantage of that we have a youthful, population. Those are the things that we have to correct for. Okay? So, next. So, goal number 8 includes, now, so employability. So, young people in Africa around the world, we need jobs. And already, the problem is already with us. How many graduates, when they leave, are able to secure a job within 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? It is real. And the problem is in 2 ways, 2 dimensions. One, are we as university producing graduates with the right skills to enter the economy? The other side is the economy creating job opportunities in the different sectors? Look at this country, the textile industry collapsed. Whereas Nigeria was already moving, especially through our women, in respect of textile. When you see Nigerian women participating in, I think, what do you call it? Is it a fashion show in Paris and so on? And they were using the local fabric. But what happened to the local fabric? The Chinese took the fabric to China, to produce something to export back to us at cheaper price. These are the realities that we really, in terms of creating employment, for as long as a kind of deindustrialization is going on in the country now. Industry is collapsing. Thank God that the service industry, they are coming up gradually, but that is not enough. So we have to worry about this. Next. So graduate employment, I say how serious. Let's see. Let's move on fast. What is this? Do you know this story? This was the stadium when they were doing aptitude test. But the aptitude test was done by the immigration. For how many jobs? Even Russia will be envious that we have so many like this in the stadium. Not to watch football, but to take tests. That again, and how many jobs could have been, how many vacancies could have been there? This signifies that, yes, there is problem. Next. So, statistics in there showing this, I don't have to dwell on them. Next. United Nations, you need to also, 2016, skill gap assessment in 6 priority sectors of Nigerian economy. They were able to also show that in the sectors of the economy, people were not having the right skills in some of the sectors. And the need for the country to now pay attention to skill development, and of course it will start also from the university. We can no longer take for granted that the students that were, the graduates are having the right, type of skills that they need. Next. Next, I don't have to. Okay, UNIDO report says 100, as at the time they did it in 2014, 100 universities and over 120 polytechnics, that hundreds, addition to hundreds of them, have been largely disconnected from industrial and socio-economic needs consistent by consistent neglect of competence and undue emphasis on paper qualification. In other words, we can no longer afford that the curriculum that is being run in the university is disconnected, from industry. We just must build that bridge. We must be able to design curriculum that will reflect the needs of industry. We can no longer be a kind of ivory tower. We must connect. And that's what is being done all over the world. That what are the skills required in order for graduates to be able to go in there and thrive. That is what this is all about. Next. Okay, next. Let me just go. So in here, we said that, however, preparing young people to enter the labor market has therefore become a critical responsibility for universities. However, the relevance of their programs and the employability of their graduates are posing an increasing challenge for the universities. We must worry, and we must respond. That is the message that I'm putting across today. Next. Then, next, I think you can go. Well, okay, next you can go on like that. Now, I've just said that Philips Consulting in Nigeria carried out employability survey of fresh graduates in Nigeria. This was in 2014. Again, they were able to show that we'll be needing almost 24 million jobs in the next few years if we are to sustain the level of graduate employability. So it's a big problem. Next. So employability has been described as to be as a result of poor funding, outdated curricula, which we say we just have to revisit. Okay? And it's a challenge not only for university, for employers and all of us. Next. In here, I just quoted that the Arab Spring, you must have heard about the Arab Spring. What happened in Libya? It's the collection for the unprecedented social and political changes that took place in the Middle East and in MENA has brought out clearly the limitation of the old order, political, social, economic, and education. Most significant is the fact that across the region, high youth unemployment, growing graduate unemployment, and the emergence of voice of young Arab people have brought the issue of employability to the forefront of the political agenda. We can see that already coming in Nigeria. And what a female student from an institution in Libya noted, the main reason for the revolution in Libya is unemployment. So if our voice is not heard, we are coming again for another revolution. So for Nigeria too, we should take cue from that. It's a message that, because if you are talking about development means people, being gainfully employed in the different sectors of our economy. Next. So, and then you see, I would say it's already responding to that, to say that, well, we have to revisit the curriculum, but they are the one talking about benchmark minimum academic standard. I'm happy to note that NUC too is appreciating the need to re-engineer the so-called benchmark minimum academic standard, because it is a mistake for NUC under BMAS to prescribe almost 95% what a university should do in any program. They are now saying that the public will prescribe 60%, give each university to have its own, area of expertise, reflected. Next. Next, I can go on. Yeah, okay. Let me now. Well, this is just saying the range of skills that university now have to worry about in our graduates. Reflective learners, adaptable, confident, and so on. But critical thinking is so critical. Critical thinking is key. I must say, but the question is, are we developing critical thinking? if you permit me to quickly make an example of what you mean by critical thinking. A lecturer in a class of physics was able to, he had a problem which he solved in class. And the problem was a mass of 100 kilograms was dropped from a tower. And the tower is about 75 meters high. And the question was, how long will it take for that mass to hit the ground? Those of us who have done physics, even in secondary school, almost, or at least 100 level in the university, you will have had the equation of motion. You substitute, you will get the time. That was what he did in class. In the exam, he said the mass of 100 kg was on top of a well, 70 meters deep. And that mass was dropped into the well. How long will it take for the mass to hit the surface of the water? Some of the students in the exam said, that lecturer is wicked. He set an exam on what he didn't teach us in class. And some were able to see the connection. That speaks volume. And that's what is called reflective learning. Our students are not having time to internalize what they could not see. It's like return to sender. So, these are the things that, so what people are now saying is, what are we examining? Is it somebody who is excellent in returning to us whatever we have given? Or is it somebody who can use what we have given, internalize it, and be able to apply it? People always say, and I believe it, that one of the fallacies of education is for us to feel that everything a student needs to know must be taught. Lie. Any student that relies on the lecture notes or what happens in the class as the basis of his listening has already missed the way. There's no way lecturers can give you all that you need. I always say that, I'm from mechanical engineering. Maybe 20 years ago, I could claim to be lecturer. Maybe lecturing you, this type of, communicating, lecturing you, using my notes. And I could say, okay, on any topic, I was probably at the cutting edge. Maybe 80% of what you should know in that topic, I've got it. But is that the situation now? I learned my lesson in respect of that a few years ago when I was given a BSc project. Thesis, at BSc level, final year of BSc, you just give a project which a student will do. You don't expect anything new. It's just to introduce him. I gave one project 1 year. One student did it. Fine. I wasn't really satisfied. Somebody could still do more. The following year, I gave it. Gave the write-up of that student to another student the following year. And I told him, please, you must move it to this level. He tried his best, but not quite. Then third year, I gave it to another student. And this was supposed to be for a whole session, 2 semesters. And the student was introduced in the first semester. So what happened? 3 weeks after I introduced him to the problem, he came to me and said, "You have solved the problem." I said, "What do you mean by you have solved the problem?" 3 weeks, you mean you don't even understand? You want me to further explain? He said, "No, sir. This was a high-level simulation." So he came. First, he had his own computer. I sat down with him. He opened his computer. Then he started showing me the result. I expected him to just show coloration of stress, how the system has been stressed. Show high-level stress, show low-level, and so on. He did that. But he did more than what I expected. At any point he put a cursor, it will show those who are engineers, it will show principal stresses, the values in there. And I said, what's this? He said, "Sir, those are the principal stresses." How did you do it? He said, "You see, that thing you taught us in the class, it's like, it's out of date. Too." The software platform, which I expected him to use, this guy had his industrial attachment in a company that was dealing with high-level, simulation. So it was like me giving him a cutlass, and the man had a bulldozer. So it was, show me. So I had to sit down, pocket my pride, listen patiently why he took me through. And I said, Oga, keep quiet. I'm going to introduce this to the class. So I took it to the class. I said, yeah, there's a new system now that So I said, my assistant will take you through. Now, the message is clear. We are no longer lecturers, but facilitators. Because there's knowledge explosion. University is no longer the only source of knowledge. Pick any topic, Google it. You will get more than what the lecturer has told you. So that's why what we have to be teaching students is learning to learn. Finding out yourself, not restricting yourself. That is the message. Now, I'm moving towards the research component now. No, you can move on. You can move on. Let me move on now. Now, I said in here, the question now is, yes, we are saying university should do this, university should do that. The question that we must answer, what are really universities for? Because if you are not careful, you'll be asking universities to do what they are not really supposed to be doing. And that's what I said in there. And then University and Strategy of Research and Innovation. I will move fast. Next. What are universities for? Move. Okay? Now, okay, no, go back. Because we have to know the history. Next, go back. I said John Cardinal Newman's century old, about 100 years ago, the picture of a university was that of an enclave. You could almost say that, they are not, the gate of university is like you are entering, a place that's not for commoners. And that was what Newman was saying. Only students and staff. Okay? And even Newman said, next. Newman said it was against vocational courses, research for that matter. Newman described practical knowledge as a deal of trash. Everything must be based on thinking and not using your hand, using your brain. And he even thought that medicine, I'm sure my colleagues will not like that too. He said medicine was too applied to be taught at a real university. I'm sure we don't agree with that anymore. But that was his feeling, that there was too much practical. The intellectual content was not there. That was university then. But now, what is university today? That was Ivory Tower. Now, it's economic growth model. You now see university, government, and industry, triple L's, now cooperating. University is not supposed to be an ivory tower. You must also know what is happening in the industrial space. Government also must be really involved. Those three key elements are the ones that we are now talking about, to move the nation forward. Next. And that's what I'm reflecting there. University, government, employment, industry. The collaboration must be there. Next. What are universities for? Now, okay, go on. Now, I can move fast. No, you can move on. Move on. Okay? Now, in here, I say, what are universities for? University concern is useful knowledge. I think it's important to emphasize this, because if you are not careful, we say that, our university should be established to be solving immediate problems. No. Yes, our university will solve immediate problems. You will respond. But you must also look into the future. It has been said, the technology that will drive the economy of the world, maybe in another 10, 15 years to come, the technology is not yet here with us. How many people could foresee GSM 20 years ago? My father died 25 years ago. If he should just come back and see a GSM, he will return. He will run back that his son is now become a witch or something like a wizard or what have you. Because nobody expected such a jump. And there's still more to come. Who will drive that for a nation? So university should not concern itself with just immediate. You must also be ready to move the nation forward. And that's why in here I said, need to promote both basic and applied research. Because there are times when people think that basic research is not necessary, it's a waste of money. No. The applied research of today happen to be basic of yesterday. So we don't miss that point. Next. And in terms of useful knowledge, I mean, here I just give an example of where we have to be careful. Some people may come up with some ideas and we just say, no, it cannot work. It cannot work. And history is full of that. Somebody said, drill for oil. You mean drill into the ground to try and find oil? You are crazy. That there was no oil under the ground. And this was by Edwin Drake in 1859. When he said he had a feeling that there would be oil in the ground and he needed people to help him drill. And they said, what are you drilling for? Water? He said, no oil. They said, you must be crazy. How can oil be in the ground? But today, you have crude oil. But 1859, the man who had that vision was regarded as crazy. This telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication. The device is inherently of no value. Telephone was of no value. 1876. That was the feeling then. But those who were carrying the idea, the vision, they continued. And what do we have today? Next. Heavier than air flying machines are impossible. Coming from what you call a Nobel laureate, President Royal Society. When the Wright brothers were saying that it is possible to fly, he said no.